Do you like this trade? Do you think that this is a good move for the Bruins? Do you think anything happens with Brad Marchand today?
Yeah, I mean, I don't love it just because, like, I guess I don't really love the return. I'll be honest. I know nothing about Marat Khusnudinov.
Mm-hmm.
I know nothing about him.
He's pretty strong with the puck.
Okay, cool. There you go.
Yeah.
But, like, if he's just like a prospect that you're hoping might be able to pan out at some point, great. We know exactly who Jacob Lauko is. So, like, I just feel like if you were going to trade Brazeau, you'd get more in a return that would help towards your future and not just a money dump. But
it's a nothing burger.
Yeah, it's a nothing burger.
Yeah.
Now, I thought this was interesting because The Athletic had an article about what people are hearing from executives around the NHL when it comes to Brad Marchand. And this quote in particular I saw last night, so I'll just read it. The Bruins, meanwhile, are not just listening on Marchand. The executives noted that the Bruins have made it known they are serious about trading Marchand. As of Thursday, they had set a high price. They want a first-round pick, a roster player, and an A-level prospect. That would be a significant return for what could be a rental, a limited one at that.
Yeah. And Marchand ain't going nowhere.
No, I agree.
Oh, he's gone. Totally gone.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
Why would you keep him?
But you think
because I don't believe that they have the courage to trade a guy of Marchand's caliber.
Okay, let's go around the room. Not about what they will do. Would you trade him? I would trade him.
I would.
I would.
You would not.
No.
Shime?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you think any team would give that up though?
I think there are playoff teams out there that would give
a first-round pick, a roster player, and an A-level prospect for Marchand, who's at the end of his career and also hurt.
Courtney, you ask for the moon, and then you accept something smaller.
But is
Marchand among the stars?
Let me
that was my yearbook quote.
Let me ask you this. Yeah. Let me ask you this question, Courtney.
Can we see all the quotes in your yearbook?
I would love to.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, Mom, find those.
Carpe diem.
Do you think Marchand's going to play for another 2 or 3 years?
I think 3 years max.
Okay, 3 years max, which is fine.
Depending on what this injury is, they're still not
right. But you still believe he's going to play for another couple of years. So if you're an organization that is a playoff contender and says, all right, if we could get a guy like Marchand for the next couple of years, he's the missing piece to help us with getting players in the dressing room to buy in. He's still a good enough player where, he can help us win a cup. I think there are organizations out there that would give up a good package for a guy like him.
It has to be a perfect scenario because if that's what the Bruins are asking for, those three things in return, and then Marchand also has a 8-team no-trade list, Shime?
That sounds right. I'll double check.
And we have no idea who those teams are. I don't think Marchand would just go anywhere.
No, but they're not just going to trade him anywhere. It's not like they're going to trade him to a team that stinks. Like they're not going to trade him to like San Jose or something like that. They're going to look for a team that they know would use a veteran and needs that veteran presence and needs a guy like Marchand to get over the hump. So I don't think that I saw something where I forget what team. Maybe it might have been like Colorado or something where there was like
there's some smoke around the Colorado file.
like Marchand and Sidney Crosby potentially.
Sorry,
going there.
there's our listeners are very, very funny, but there's a 978 texter that just came in. Going back to the Borat conversation, Coco DeSanto after putting on her PJs, you will never get this. Horizontal. But yeah, no, I don't think Marchand's going anywhere. Whether it's this injury or not, I don't think that he was ever going even before he got hurt. I also don't think that they're making up this injury to, have an easy way out. No, I think that he is banged up.
I think he's hurt, but they could be like maybe knowing that like, all right, this is a tough decision for us to make. Maybe Marchand could play, but they're like, working with the trainers and saying, all right, let's continue to hold him out. Just so other teams are like, all right, he must be, like you said, what's he dealing with? And they're not really disclosing it. So at least it kind of takes the pressure off them a little bit from them having to make a really tough decision on whether or not to trade or keep him.
And I feel like, I in some cases, this is not applicable, but if the coach is fired because the team isn't succeeding, so not a coach just retiring and saying, I'm done, I feel like the captain should change too. Because the feeling in that room, it doesn't mean you have to trade him, but like maybe the reason things haven't changed after all these coaching changes is that the DNA of the leadership has remained the same. And so you sit here today and there is no excuse for the trade deadline to come and go and for you not to get assets for Brad Marchand.
So you think that when Sacco became the head coach, they should have stripped Marchand from the C with the C?
I mean, I think that in season interim, maybe not, but at the end of this year, like whoever the next coach is, I think should have a different captain.
Yeah, I
Because-
don't really know how. I don't like the captain in hockey. I feel like it's.
Oh, I think it's important.
I'm not saying it's not important, but don't they have talent? Don't they have, like, when you think of, like, just McAvoy, Pasta, you know, we thought that both Lindholms, Elias and Hampus Lindholm, Zadorf, like, you look and you go, Swayman, like, you look and you go, okay, you would think that the team has decent talent and they play hard, so what is Marchand as a captain not getting them to do?
Well, they're just not.
Is it just talent,
They're
though?
not maximizing their potential, whatever that is.
But is it
is
talent?
that the captain, or is that the organization missing on the talent?
Well, Mike Milbury said that it was coaches, too. Like, you've got to point the finger at the coaches
Right,
of how
so-
they've been playing recently. So,
But are you pointing at your finger at the coaches for not putting the players in the right position? So I guess it's, you know,
It's not saying anybody specifically to blame. It's saying that the way in which everything had been organized and the leadership had been set up hasn't worked. And so Brad Marchand won a championship. You know, he grew a lot. You know, where he was as sort of the nut job licking people into a captain on a team that, you know, was as talented as there is in the NHL. It's time for him to go. They don't have the long-term extension. This team needs to stop playing musical chairs. Don Sweeney needs to accept that the team is not good enough. I think this is his last deadline if they don't nail this offseason.
Yeah, see, the way I look at the captain, and just from the world of, you know, being in the football world, the captains or the people in that locker room are more like when keeping everybody in that locker room in line, right? And getting people to basically fall in line when it comes to the system that's being put in place by the coach and how we want to do things here. And I feel like there's, I mean, other than the Rich Keefe, you know, potential report, I don't know if the locker room is really in shambles or the dressing room is really in shambles with the Bruins. So, I mean, is it more about
It's
the
not
talent?
about it being in shambles. It's that they're not playing to their potential.
well, I think they've given up now. Like, I
Right.
think the season's over in their minds, so they're just, what we're going to see the remainder of the season is not an indicator of who these guys actually are. It's just they're giving up.
Yeah, but that's you can't say that. Last night they didn't give up. Last night they played hard.
Yeah.
They played against a good Carolina team, and they lost it on a crazy play at the end of the game. When
Crazy,
you,
like 3 plays in a row.
when you say giving up, I feel like you can see that the team is not giving this the same effort.
I mean,
Well-
it's given up in that the season's over.
Yeah.
They're not going to be doing anything. They're not going to make the playoffs.
No. But are the guys going to still go out there and give it their all and, you know, look to play spoilers, look to say we're still, you know.
But
we
Joe
still-
Sacco's not coming back. You would agree.
No, I would agree with that. But I'm just
But
saying.
this 207 texter, the DNA change needs to be Sweeney and Neely.
I don't think that's wrong.
Yeah, it's nothing
But
wrong
they're
with
not
that.
going to. I mean, they're the ones executing the trades today.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I know we have to get to They Said It, but let's hear from Alex from Shrewsbury on the Bruins. Good morning, Alex.
Hey, good morning. Hey, you know, I got to agree with Courtney on this, guys. I mean, you're not getting a first round and a A-level pick from, you know, whatever. But, you know, considering Marchand's age and the injuries he's been trending with, that's not going to happen.
Right. So how about a second round pick? Maybe this is what they're asking for, and they'll settle for a second round pick.
I don't know. I wouldn't go as high as a third.
Okay. So, but whatever it is, isn't it better than nothing?
Yeah, it's obviously better than nothing. Because if you
Yeah,
don't,
I mean, it is better than nothing. But, yeah, you might want to throw in maybe another prospect with that. But, you know, I wouldn't just ask for a draft pick.
yeah, I
Right,
think you'd have to
right.
get a
Definitely not
prospect.
number one.
Yeah, I
What?
think you definitely have to get a prospect. The thing is this,
Thanks, Alex.
and we talked about this yesterday. If Marchand is not dealt by, what is it, 3 p.m. or 4 p.m., whatever the trade deadline is,
Ken has a countdown clock.
if
Yeah.
he's not dealt by then that means there's probably a very good chance that you're re-signing him in the offseason to a 2-3 year deal, whatever it is, and he's coming back and he's part of your retool, because you would not want to lose him in the offseason for nothing. Like, I don't think you're going the Chara route and saying, you know what, you're 43 years old, Chara, you did a great job for us. Hey, if you want to go somewhere else, see what you can get. They might come back and say to Marchand, well, we're not going to give you $6 million like you're making now. Maybe we give you 3.5 over the next couple of years, and you come back and you're part of this retool.